You have been given a command whispered by every self-help guru, every productivity app, every well-meaning piece of advice you've ever received. The command is simple: control your thoughts. And what if I told you that this command is the very reason you feel weak? What if the attempt to control your thoughts is the single greatest stoic error of our time, a trap that ensnares 99% of men who seek strength, and the very thing keeping you from true mental power? In the next hour, we are not just going to correct this error, we are going to install a new mental framework, one that separates the amateur from the master, the reactive from the sovereign. This is the knowledge that operates beneath the surface, the distinction that the 1% understand instinctively. Before we begin, I want you to write one word in the comments. That word is control. Let's see how many of us have been fighting the wrong war. Let's be honest. The modern world is a relentless assault on your focus. Your mind is a battlefield. Intrusive thoughts about failure, anxiety about the future, replaying past mistakes. It's a constant storm inside your own skull, and your instinct, the one you've been trained to follow, is to become the frantic pilot trying to steer the plane in a hurricane. You grip the controls, you fight the turbulence, you try to force the nose of the plane where you want it to go. You tell yourself, don't think about that, or think positive thoughts instead. This is the strategy of brute force, and it's exhausting. Why? Because you are trying to stop the storm itself. You are trying to command the weather. The fundamental flaw in this approach is a misunderstanding of your own mind. Your mind's job is to produce thoughts, just as a factory's job is to produce noise. Trying to force it into silence is not just ineffective, it's a declaration of war on your own nature, and in that war, you will always, eventually lose. So, let's diagnose the core malfunction. The idea of thought control is based on a false premise. It assumes you are the author of every single thought that appears in your consciousness, but you are not. You are the observer. Thoughts arise from your subconscious, your experiences, your biology, your environment. They are like clouds passing in the sky. You are not the creator of the clouds. You are the sky in which they appear. The 99% error is to identify with every cloud, to believe every forecast, to get angry at the rain. When a negative thought appears, I might fail this presentation, the untrained man immediately engages it. He either wrestles with it, no, I won't, or he panics. He's right, I'm going to fail. In both cases, he has given the thought power. He has mistaken a passing cloud for the entire weather system. This is the first link in the chain of emotional slavery. This leads us to a psychological phenomenon known as the ironic process theory, or more simply, the white bear problem. If I tell you, do not think about a white bear, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? A white bear. The very act of trying to suppress a thought requires you to keep a mental searchlight on that thought to ensure you are not thinking it. You are, in effect, holding the enemy in your sights at all times. This is why telling an anxious person to just stop worrying is the most useless advice in the world. It's like telling a drowning man to just stop being wet. The mechanism of suppression is the mechanism of amplification. This isn't a personal failing. It's a law of the mind. The men who achieve true tranquility are not those who win this fight. They are the ones who understand the fight itself is unwinnable, and they refuse to participate. The true Stoic practice, the one understood by the 1%, is not about controlling the arrival of thoughts. It is about controlling your reaction to them. This is a crucial distinction. The thought itself is neutral. It is a piece of data, a spark. It has no inherent power over you. The thought, I am not good enough, is just a collection of words, electrical signals in the brain. It is no more real than the thought, the sky is made of cheese. The power comes from what the Stoics called assent. Assent is the moment you agree with the thought. It is the moment you say, yes, this is true. It is the moment you pour gasoline on the spark. The untrained mind gives assent automatically, instantly. The spark becomes a flame, the flame becomes an inferno of emotion. and it all happens in a fraction of a second. So, what is the this from the title? What do the 1% master instead of their thoughts? They master the space between thought and assent. This is the sacred ground. This is where your power lies. Imagine a thought is a visitor knocking at your door. The average person swings the door open for anyone who knocks. Anxiety? Come on in. Self-doubt? The party's in here. Catastrophic thinking? Pull up a chair. The master, the modern Stoic, acts as a gatekeeper. He hears the knock. He pauses. He looks through the peephole and asks, "Who are you? Are you a friend or a foe? Are you based in reality, or are you a phantom?" He does not try to stop people from knocking. That is impossible. He simply exercises his right to not let everyone into his house. Mastering this pause, this moment of conscious evaluation, is the entire game. Let's make this practical. The technique is one of detached observation. When a thought arises, you do not engage and you do not suppress. You simply label it. For example, the thought, "she's going to leave me," appears. Instead of panicking or fighting it, you mentally step back and say, "I am having the thought that she is going to leave me." Do you see the difference? You are no longer the thought. You are the person observing the thought. You have created a separation. You have moved from being an actor in the drama to a member of the audience. This simple act of reframing is profoundly powerful. It drains the thought of its emotional charge. It turns a hot, gripping fear into a cold, neutral piece of data that can be examined without panic. This observer mindset is your primary weapon. It must be trained like a muscle. At first, it will be difficult. Your habit of instant assent is deeply ingrained. But with practice, the space between stimulus, the thought, and response, your assent and subsequent emotion, will grow wider. You can practice this with small things. A thought of irritation when someone cuts you off in traffic. A thought of craving for junk food. A thought of procrastination when looking at a difficult task. Hear the knock. Pause. Look through the peephole. Ah, there is the thought of anger. There is the thought of craving. You don't have to act on it. You don't have to believe it. You just have to notice it. This is not suppression. This is awareness. This is control of the highest order. Let's re-examine the famous Stoic concept, the dichotomy of control. Most people interpret it superficially. I can't control the weather, but I can control my response. True, but incomplete. The 1% apply this internally. They understand that the emergence of a thought is external to their direct control, like the weather. It just happens. But their assent to that thought, their judgment of that thought, that is entirely within their control. This is the micro-dichotomy. The average man lives his entire life believing his internal world is one monolithic thing he must wrestle with. The Stoic master sees his internal world as two distinct parts, the uncontrollable chatter and the controllable judgment. By focusing all his energy on the latter, he achieves what the brute force method never can: peace. Think of your mind as a garden. Thoughts are seeds blown in by the wind. Some are seeds of beautiful flowers, courage, discipline, love. Others are seeds of weeds, fear, resentment, envy. The amateur gardener runs around frantically trying to stop the wind from blowing. He curses every weed seed that lands. He is exhausted and his garden is a mess. The master gardener ignores the wind. He knows he cannot control it. Instead, he calmly walks through his garden, observing the seeds as they land. He chooses which ones to water, assent, and which ones to ignore, allowing them to wither in the sun. He cultivates what he wants to grow and starves what he does not. His energy is not spent fighting, but nurturing. The result is a powerful, intentional, and flourishing mind. Let's address a common counter-argument. Isn't this just passive acceptance? Isn't it weak to just let negative thoughts exist? This is a fundamental misunderstanding. This is not passivity. It is strategic non-engagement. In any conflict, from a street fight to a geopolitical war, one of the most powerful strategies is to choose the terrain on which you fight. By trying to control your thoughts, You are letting the enemy choose the terrain. You are fighting on their terms in a chaotic, unpredictable landscape. By choosing to control only your ascent, you are forcing the battle onto your own chosen ground, the fortress of your rational mind. You are letting the enemy exhaust themselves, trying to break down a gate you have no intention of opening. It is the ultimate expression of strength and efficiency. The language you use internally is critical to this process. Stop using phrases like "I am anxious" or "I am angry." This language promotes identification with the emotion. It implies that the emotion is your entire being. Instead, shift to the observer's language. I am experiencing a feeling of anxiety. I notice anger arising within me. This creates the same critical distance we created with thoughts. An emotion is a visitor just like a thought. It comes, it stays for a while. And if you don't serve it tea and cake by ruminating and assenting to the thoughts that feed it, it will eventually leave. You are the house, not the temporary guest. This linguistic discipline is a powerful tool for reinforcing your role as the gatekeeper. Consider how this applies to a real-world scenario. An insult? Someone calls you a name or questions your competence. The thought arrives, he thinks I'm an idiot. Maybe I am. The accompanying feeling is shame or anger. The untrained mind immediately assents. It accepts the premise. It either lashes out in anger, "No, you're the idiot," or spirals into self-doubt. The Stoic master hears the insult. He observes the thought. He thinks I'm an idiot. He looks at it with curiosity. He asks, is this true? Is this person's opinion a reliable measure of my worth? Does their judgment have any real power over me unless I grant it that power? He does not assent. The thought remains just a thought. The spark dies for lack of fuel. He can then choose a rational response, or no response at all. He remains in control. He remains powerful. Another example, a financial setback. You lose money on an investment. The thought storms in. I'm a failure. I'm ruined. My future is over. This is a powerful, terrifying visitor. The 99% open the door, invite it in, and let it burn the house down. They panic. They make rash decisions. The Stoic gatekeeper hears the knock. He observes, there is the thought of catastrophic failure. He pauses. He separates the fact from the interpretation. Fact. I have lost X amount of money. Interpretation. I am a failure and I am ruined. He refuses to assent to the interpretation. He focuses only on the fact. Okay, the fact is a loss of money. What is the next rational, productive step I can take from here? The emotional inferno is prevented. The mind remains clear, strategic, and capable of solving the actual problem. This practice also dismantles the engine of anxiety. Anxiety is almost always fueled by assenting to future-oriented, catastrophic thoughts. Anxiety is the emotional consequence of believing a story about a future that has not happened. By treating these thoughts, what if I lose my job? What if I get sick? As mere visitors, instead of prophecies, you cut off anxiety at its root. You can observe the thought. There is the thought about losing my job. And then you can bring your focus back to the only thing that is real, the present moment. What can I do right now that is productive? The fear of the future phantom loses its power when you refuse to grant it residency in your present mind. This is how you build a psychology of unshakable calm. This is not about creating a mind that is empty or silent. That is a fragile, unnatural state. The goal is to create a mind that is resilient, a mind that can function with clarity and purpose amidst the noise. The world will always send you stimuli. Your own mind will always generate thoughts. The power is not in achieving silence, but in being the calm center of the storm. The man who needs perfect silence to think is weak. The man who can think clearly in the middle of a battle is strong. This practice builds that strength. It trains you to be the signal, not the noise. You become the master of your internal environment, no matter how chaotic it gets. You must understand that your attention is your most valuable currency. It is a finite resource. Every moment you spend wrestling with a useless thought is a moment of attention you cannot spend on solving problems, on building your business, on connecting with your family, on improving your body. The error of thought control is an incredible waste of this currency. It's a black hole for your energy and focus. By mastering ascent, you're practicing the ultimate form of mental economics. You are investing your attention only in what is productive, what is virtuous, what is within your control. You stop funding the internal terrorists of anxiety and self-doubt, and you will be astonished at the wealth of mental energy you suddenly have at your disposal. Let's be clear, this is a lifelong practice. There is no graduation day where you become a perfect Stoic. You will still have moments where you ascend automatically. You will still get caught up in an emotion. The difference is you will now have the tool to recognize it and disengage. When you realize you've let a destructive visitor into your house and it has started breaking the furniture, you don't have to let it stay. You can say, "Ah, I see I have assented to the thought of resentment. My mistake." And then you calmly show it the door. There is no self-judgment. There is only the calm reapplication of the principle. This is self-mastery, not self-punishment. This principle also fundamentally changes your relationship with your own emotions. Most men see emotions as enemies to be conquered or weaknesses to be hidden. The Stoic master sees them as data. An emotion like anger or fear is simply a physiological signal that you have assented to a particular type of judgment. The emotion itself is not the problem, it's a symptom. It's an alarm bell. When you feel it, instead of fighting the feeling, you can use it as a diagnostic tool. I feel anxiety. What thought did I just assent to without realizing it? You can then trace it back to the source, question the judgment, and dissolve the emotion at its root. Emotions become your allies, your feedback system, not your masters. The ultimate payoff of this mental shift is freedom. True sovereign freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from being jerked around by every stray thought, every external event, every person's opinion. Most people are puppets, and their thoughts and emotions are the strings. They are constantly reacting, never truly choosing. When you master the space between stimulus and response, you cut those strings. You are no longer a slave to your own mind. You become its calm, benevolent ruler. Your actions become a product of your values and your will, not your fleeting emotional states. This is the bedrock of character. This is the foundation of a life well lived. Think about the men you admire for their calm under pressure, the surgeon in a crisis, the CEO in a market crash, the captain in a storm. What do they have in common? They have an almost supernatural ability to separate a chaotic situation from their judgment of it. They do not assent to panic. They see the facts and they act. They are not emotionless robots. They have simply trained themselves, consciously or unconsciously, to be masters of the gate. They do not waste a single joule of energy on fighting the storm. All of their focus goes into steering the ship. This is not a superpower. It is a skill. And it is a skill you are now equipped to build, starting today. So as we conclude this main section, the paradigm shift should be clear. The war is not against your thoughts. That is a civil war you can never win. The true work is in becoming a conscious, deliberate, and vigilant gatekeeper of your own mind, to stand at the doorway between the outer world of events and the inner world of your soul, and to choose, with wisdom and courage, what you allow to enter. This is not about building a wall to keep everything out. It's about installing a door that only you have the key to. This is the essence of psychological strength. It is the core of modern Stoicism, and it is the one skill that will change everything for you. We have travelled from the common error to the elite understanding. We have dismantled the prison of thought control and handed you the key to the fortress of your own mind. The great Stoic secret is this: your power is not in silencing your mind, but in choosing which of its whispers you will honour with your attention and your belief. You do not control the thoughts that knock on your door, but you, and only you, decide who you invite inside. This is not suppression. This is liberation. This is the path from being a reactor to being a creator of your own internal state. This is the foundation of the emotional stability and mental fortitude you seek. Thank you for investing this time in mastering your own psychology. If this framework resonated with you, subscribe and join a community of men dedicated to this level of thinking. Your journey is just beginning. Now, for your final task. In the comments below, I want you to answer this. Now that you understand this principle, what is the first thought visitor you will consciously refuse to let inside? Name it. Make a commitment. Let's begin the practice together.